controversy. Sam Harris, welcome back to the Rubin Report.
Thank you.
How was that for an intro for you? Mysterious man of internet controversy.
I guess it works as well as anything else in my bio, yeah.
You seem to be somebody that wants inner peace and yet constantly involved in these endless...
I do enough to screw that up, it seems, for reasons that I can't figure out. But
Is that a scientific test for you, possibly?
Well, you know, I've just... I don't think we've talked about this, but I've pulled back from social media to a big degree. And that is a variable that, I mean, I'd heard that advertised to me as a problem, and I had thought about it in the abstract as a problem. And I know you've gone, off the grid for a month or something, but I've cut down. I was never using Facebook as anything other than a publishing channel. I never got into comments on Facebook, but I got hooked by Twitter, as you know, and I'm probably spending 5 minutes a day on Twitter at most. It's just a surgical strike on Twitter. Just put something out, see what's there, read a couple articles, just find links to articles that interest me. So I mean, it's still a way of getting news. But to fundamentally not only not engage, but not even know what's going on Twitter, has been a total reset of my brain. I mean, it's been amazingly toxic in a way that I never appreciated. So.
Yeah. So I think my audience knows my feelings on this. That it's endlessly toxic. Yet at some level, it's helped connect all of us. I mean, we originally connected through Twitter. These things kind of morph and change and have moments where they're much worse, and then suddenly they're much better. They also, help start revolutions in the Middle East. So it's like not all evil. But are you afraid a little bit of getting disconnected altogether? Yeah, like if you that you'll miss some of the zeitgeist sort of.
Well, I'm definitely missing stuff. Yeah, and I'm still trying to use it strategically, so I'm trying to use it in precisely the way you just described, with trying to get connected with people. I reached out to somebody this woman, Dia Khan, who just did a documentary. I want to get her on the podcast. I tweeted at her. I haven't spent enough time looking to see if she's even noticed, so it's like I'm not totally paying attention. But the benefit has been just immense, because I just realized there's a kind of... It's a kind of hallucination machine where you begin to think you need to pay attention to certain voices that in the real world you would never see. I mean, I'm agnostic as to whether or not these voices are in fact consequential, and that you could sort of lose sight of how your reputation's unraveling online, and just start getting phone calls from friends saying, "Sorry, that's happening to you," which I think is that's happened to some people. But in my experience, maybe there's some exception to this, but virtually all of my kind of substantial, controversial engagements on Twitter, where I've noticed somebody go after me, and then I've responded, and then I've done a podcast in response, however that's propagated in my life, the net result has always been like you're getting back to zero if you're lucky. Yeah. Right. It's like the whole thing is a confection of having been on social media in the first place, and you're lucky to get back to zero. And I mean, the truth is, someone like, we can name the usual suspects.
We don't even have to name them anymore.
None of these people exist in the real world.
I know.
Like I mean, they're not. It's I would never see them just reading the New York Times for the most part. I certainly never see them in my life, and it's very strange to feel like because someone has said something about you on social media, or lied about you, or spread an article that was terrible about you, whatever it is, that you then have to somehow engage, and people write, like who was it? Most recently, Robert Wright just wrote this idiotic Wired piece about me. Right? It's just like there's not a single sentence in the piece that needs to be responded to. Yeah. And I get inundated by people who think, well, this you really got to respond to this. This is interesting and substantial, and it's nothing of the kind. It's like it's his attempt at clickbait. It's his attempt to provoke some kind of controversy between us on one of our podcasts. I mean, he reached out to me and said, "I just wrote this about you. I hope you'll come on my podcast, or I'll come on yours to talk about it."
He's fishing for you.
And it's a completely disingenuous and insubstantial thing, and yet paying attention, like it is a kind of meditation. It's like you sort of become what you meditate on. You become what you pay attention to. And so checking Twitter 30 times a day or whatever I was doing just built a new mind for me, which I'm very happy to get rid of. So, I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever get totally off it, because for the reasons you suggest. But I've cut it down literally by 95%.
Yeah. So I saw the interview you did. Was that CBS News about a week or two ago? And you talked about how it's kind of making us all crazy.
Oh no, that was an Australian. That was
that Australia?
Yeah, that was
CBS
ABC in Australia.
Yeah. So I saw that, and you said something about how it's kind of making us all crazy, and it was making me think, to your point just now, that it seems like we're almost living in two worlds at the same time right now. Like if you walk around staring at that thing, like I'm traveling a lot now, so if I'm like at the airport, like I'm looking at this thing, you almost get disconnected from the actual physical location.
Oh yeah, you totally do. Yeah.
You start ending up in some alternate world, and to me, that's a little bit sort of where we're going to end up with AI, with all of these. They're all going to kind of collide into one thing that we're going to end up in the Matrix or something like that.
Yeah, well, and you can be buried on your phone, obviously, without being buried on social media. So, you know, I've taken it off my phone, which is a huge kind of gatekeeping function. But
what do you think about how it changes our perception of time? Because that's actually where I was going to start with you, because we just figured out, so the last time you were on the show was July of 2016, basically two years ago, which is crazy, and it sort of seems like yesterday to me, and yet it also seems like 18 lifetimes ago. And I think that maybe has something to do with social media changing the way we perceive time or something.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's just social media. I think it's just, I mean, it's everything is conspiring to make time go faster. It's you're getting older, just the increase in novelty and just change. We're seeing changes in culture and technology that are clearly accelerating. So the world is different over the course of more different over the course of a year than it's ever been. I think that's objectively true. Yeah. But also you're just getting older, so that every year is, you know, that much less a piece of the life you've lived. You know, if you're 40, you know, the next year is 1/40th of the time you've been around, and then, you know, it becomes 1/50th, and so it's subjectively shorter. And yeah, I mean, a year for me is like 4 months long now. It just blasts by.
So there are a couple things I want to hit on here. We'll do a little bit of politics, but I do want to talk about consciousness, and